Have you ever wondered how people create these stunning environments? You probably have watched some of their long time-lapse videos. They make it seem really easy when they do it, but when you try to do it, it just not really works. So, what do they actually do that you don't? Like, what is the secret? Well, in today's video, I will tell you 5 tricks that pros use to make their environments look amazing. The last trick is the most important one. It is known to everybody, but noobs usually ignore it. And it could be you also. Let's start. I want you to look at these 2 photos and tell me which is better and why. Now, obviously this one looked better, but what do you think made it better? It was multiple layers of different vegetation. This is the power of layering. Layering is not limited to this, but it is almost everywhere. If you look at this scene by Marvel, you can see they have combined multiple layers of different effects to make the scene realistic. But how can we use layering in our projects? Well, try to use multiple variations of one thing instead of one and combine them. What I usually do, instead of making one strand of grass and duplicating it multiple times, I try to image a biome that I can possibly use in my scene. Then I look up for the types of vegetation found in the biome. I will use that data and add it in my scene. Do you know that big studios hire artists specially to make their models imperfect? Yes, but why do they do that? It is because nothing in the world is perfect. If you look at things around you, everything has scratches, dents, and some kind of dirt. It levels up in the realism of the scene. I recommend you should not make anything perfectly. Always try to include some scratches, smudges, and dirt. These details can really level up your models, but people can get really excited and overdo it. To prevent this happening to you, I recommend you should always take a look at reference pictures before proceeding. Try to include scratches on sensible places. Usually, sharp corners have more damage to them, and plain things have more scratches. It is because objects usually fall on their corners. Dirt will be more prominent in the grooves and lines, and it will be less prominent on corners. And dust is usually more visible on black-colored objects. Do not stop here. Always try to match the imperfections with the theme of your scene. People usually ignore the fact that there is always some kind of fog in the scene. If you look at real-world pictures, you will notice that distance objects are smudgy and less visible. They also have a little bit of white or gray tint to them. This happens because of the atmosphere. Now, if you look at this 3D scene, we can see that the effect is missing. It is because there is no atmosphere present in the scene. It makes it unrealistic to human eye. If you were not told, you would have probably noticed that something is wrong, but would not have noticed that what is wrong. To replicate the atmosphere effect, you can add a really big cube that will cover full scene and then apply principled volume shader to it. Now you can control the effect with density value. This method is pretty accurate, but there is a problem with it. The problem is that it can really bump up the rendering time. This is because it is really hard for computer to render volumetrics. But there is a way to add atmosphere effect in the scene without bumping up the rendering time by much. It is actually the last trick of our video. Storytelling can really level up the game when it comes to realism. Take a look at this scene I recently created. It looks good, but it looked blank. Something was telling in my head that it lacks something when I looked at it. The scene looked empty to me. I searched a lot that why it looked empty. I tried to add different objects and different kind of stuff, but nothing worked. It literally took me 2 days to realize that it lacked one of the most interesting things on planet, and that was a story. I was really happy when I found out the answer, but the answer soon became a problem to me. Why, you ask? It's because it is not easy to add a story in the scene when you start blank. So, how do we do it? In my opinion, try to add some animal interaction in the scene. It could be anything. For example, you can add human talking to each other, add birds in the sky, add bird poops on objects. If you want to do even more, you can add some weather effects. Make everything messed up. Make it look like there was a storm happening. But why stop here? Add literal animals and tell a story through them like I did. In my latest scene creation, I added 2 rabbits far away and 1 rabbit watching towards them. It looks like these 2 rabbits are wandering around to look for something, and this rabbit is waiting for them to come back. These kinds of details really help the viewer to create a story by themselves. It also diverts the mind from imperfect things. I also added 3 bisons in the back. One was eating grass and minding his own business, but the other 2 was looking towards car, wondering what is going on. The trick I am about to tell you can save you hours of rendering time, and it can improve your renders by a lot. It is not fair to call it a trick because it is a necessary process for every movie. Well, I am talking about compositing. I talked about layering in my first trick, and also showed you a Marvel movie scene that had multiple layers of different effects. That layering was made possible through compositing. Now let's take a look at how we can use it in our scene. Do you remember when I told you that I can teach you atmosphere rendering without increasing rendering time by much? Well, it is done through compositing. Instead of using a big cube, you can enable mist pass and compositing nodes and then combine the mist pass with image through compositing. This will save you a lot of render time. Thank you everybody for watching the video. I hope you like it, and if you want to see these tricks in actions, you can watch this video.